Hello, hello there, and welcome to this random, not scheduled live video that I am using my 20 seconds of courage to do something that is really pushing the edges of my comfort zone today. And that's something that has been a bit of a theme for me here. I don't know, maybe my whole life is that these little spurts of courage can really change the course of what your life is. And today I wanted to show up in this space and talk about something that is very, very, very close to my heart and is something of a personal struggle or journey, if you will, for me, and maybe some other people resonate with it too. And what I want to talk about is the gap or the difference between belonging and authenticity, and how scary, I mean, like downright freaking terrifying, it can be to be our authentic self when we have a fear or even the perceived fear that we'll no longer belong if we stand out, if we show up as our authentic self, that may alienate us from our community, from our family, from our friends, that we'll end up losing the people that are really important to us. And I feel that. I feel that. And for the last 2.5 years, I have been on a journey, on a mission, if you even can go that far with me, of working under the umbrella of owning authenticity. This is the name of my YouTube channel. I have a spiritual coaching practice under that banner. I've connected with hundreds, thousands of people online as Carly from Owning Authenticity. And I have done exactly this much sharing about that work here on my personal Facebook page. I have very much kept my personal Facebook page, my personal identity, I have kept it separate from Carly from Owning Authenticity. Like, they're not the same person. They're two different identities that when I show up in the world, I'm choosing, I'm like wearing a suit of which identity am I showing up as today. And that is the system that for me is beginning to break down, where I feel like those selves, they want to merge together. They want to be the same person. I don't want to show up as only a sliver of myself in these spaces and allow myself to be my full authentic self in these other spaces. I want to be me all the time. Like, why the hell not? Like, sounds great in theory. In principle, I am 100% right there in knowing, in even believing. I want that. And, right? Yes, and it's scary. It's so scary to take off the mask, to not put on the suit of the identity of the person that we think is going to be acceptable. And that brings me to the topic that I really want to talk about in this particular video, which is that there are more things in this world that we can't control than things that we can. And the one thing that we can never, ever control is how people see us, how people perceive us. And when we prioritize belonging over authenticity, essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to control how other people see us. We're trying to be small enough and acceptable enough so that other people will accept us. Other people will continue to see us in the good light that we want to be seen in. And this is the process of, like, as far as wanting to merge my various selves into one, it is this exact thing that I have to let go of. It's this exact tendency of wanting to control how other people see me that I have to let go of. I have to heal around this need to be seen a certain way. And the truth is that, I mean, I know this to my core. The truth is that people don't ever even really see us. Okay. And like the reason for that is basically this idea of projection that, like, when we look out at the world, we are seeing what we are able and willing and capable of perceiving. And that's it. Like, we don't actually see the world as it is. We see the world as we are capable of seeing it. And so when somebody looks at me and they have a reaction of, I love her, right? Like, oh my gosh, I love everything she just said. Like, that's because their perception was capable of seeing something that they could love. And when someone looks at me and says, that's not right, no, she's doing it wrong, she's being disrespectful, she's blah, 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 like, what they're actually seeing is their own story. And so we think about it like the lenses of our glasses, okay? And like whether you wear glasses or not doesn't really matter, because the lens through which we see the world, all of the gunk on those lenses of the stories that we make, the meaning that we make about things, the fears that we personally carry, the limitations that we personally put on ourselves, those are the things that are on our glasses. And when we look at another person, when we behold another person, we can't see past our own perception. And so to think that I could, right, I believe this is true for everyone, but to speak from first person, to think that I could ever show up in a way that will please and satisfy every single person, it's just not realistic. We cannot control how other people perceive us. What we can control is how clean our own perception is, how dirty or smudged up our own lens is through which we are viewing the world. And the thing about it is, this is where projection is such a cool concept to really wrap your mind around, because when I am trying to control how other people perceive me, I'm trying to get them to accept me. What I'm really doing is trying to be acceptable to myself, right? There's a level of self-rejection at play when we want to avoid being rejected by other people. And that, again, is the piece that has to heal. If I am going to successfully merge all of myselves together and I'm going to allow myself to show up as my authentic self, I have to accept me, right? It's not about other people accepting or rejecting me. I want to be accepted by them, because when they reject me, I reject me, right? When they abandon me, I abandon myself. And so it is this healing and unity inside of myself that is really the piece that wants to heal. There's really the act of coming into this process of wanting to merge all of my various identities together to want to get to show up as who I am, no matter what room I walk into, no matter what profile I'm posting on. It's all just me, right? And like, so far, right here, right now, today, like, that's been true for the last like 6 minutes. There is still a very real part of me that wants to control how other people see me. I really, really, really don't want to be singled out or attacked or, like, made to feel shame about who I really am. Like, I don't want those things. And yes, and when I think about it through this lens of, the only thing that we perceive in the world is what is already on our own perception. So if I'm perceiving that other people are rejecting me, that is really me rejecting me. That's all that's going on there. And that is where this freaking 20 seconds of courage can change your life. Like, that's where the courage came from, to press go live on this particular video and do this share, this completely imperfect, unprepared share, to really prove to myself that I am willing to accept me. I am willing to accept me in my imperfection. And how other people respond to me is really a projection of how they feel about themselves, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the quote, I love quotes, but it's like, my authenticity can inspire some and can trigger others, right? Like, and what is the difference? Because it's all just me. It's all the same exact portrayal of me and myself. So what is the real difference? The difference is that some people are hungry and leaning towards their own authenticity. And so they feel inspired when they see somebody else stepping outside their comfort zone, stepping outside of like what's expected to be more authentic. And other people who feel more limited, who feel more like I'm not allowed to be myself, they find people in their authenticity triggering because it doesn't feel safe to them, right? And so all of that is a reflection of that person's nervous system. It's not even a reflection of me, right? Like, I have this other pattern that says I really, really, really want people to understand me. And when I feel misunderstood, I feel really unhappy and miserable inside of myself. I feel like nobody understands. And when I'm in a conversation with someone and they're not understanding me, my old pattern was to try harder to get them to understand me. And I see on that same kind of loop of like, we're perceiving ourselves in all moments. And so when I try really hard to get somebody else to understand me, it's just another form of like wanting their approval, that like they understand, they approve, they co-sign, that like they get it, right? And I'm using that as a substitution for understanding myself. Like, that is one of the first wounds that led me into my own self-awareness journey. Was my potential mother-in-law didn't end up going through with that wedding, so she never officially became my mother-in-law, but she really wanted from me something that I felt like I was not capable of giving. I felt like she just does not understand me. And I went into this process of like, I open up this email. I feel like I've always been better at expressing myself in writing. And when I have the time to kind of clear my mind and like get my thoughts together, and I open up this email and I'm like gonna explain to her why, like, what I'm not able to offer to her, it's nothing personal, right? Like, she was so hurt by the fact that I wouldn't call her on my drive home from work every day. And I'm like, I am not calling anybody on my drive home from work every day. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody. Okay. So like, that was the situation. And I'm going to explain it to her that like, here's who I am. Here's how I am. Here's why that's not personal to you. Here, hopefully this will help you understand me. And in that moment of like opening that email and going to write that email to her, it was just crickets inside my mind. I had no idea how to explain to her. And what I realized was that the pain of that situation wasn't that she doesn't understand me. It's that I don't understand me. So tying all of that full circle, it's like the one thing we can never control is how other people see us, how other people feel about us and what we're doing. That is not within our control. But what is within our control is how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. These things are 100% inside of our relationship with ourselves. Turning inward and healing these things can literally wipe the gunk off of your glasses, off of your perception on the world. And what I find is the greater my acceptance is of myself, not even necessarily that more people accept me, but that I need them to less. And so I don't notice as often when other people don't accept me. It doesn't sting the same that other people don't accept me or don't align with me or whatever the case is. They don't understand me. That's no problem because most days I barely understand me, right? And some days I don't at all. But I go with it because even in the craziness and the variety of my energies, like I understand that all of it has a purpose, right? So like even though I don't understand exactly where I am every minute of every day, I understand that there's a meaning and a purpose to every single mood I ever find myself in, every single gust of courage that carries me into the next new thing. We cannot control anything happening outside of ourselves. We can only control ourselves inside, how we feel about us, how we relate to us, how we treat us. These are the things that are within our control. And that is where I'm super excited to invite this audience, whoever is watching. I am hosting a free 5-day retreat that starts on March 16th. That's a Saturday. It's happening Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but you don't have to attend every single day. You can come whatever days you're free. It's happening from 10 a.m. Central Time to 11 a.m. Central Time each of those days. And the intention behind this space, this pop-up space, is to kickstart this whole process of understanding that the world around us is really a hologram that reflects how we feel about ourselves. And so if we ever are interested in any kind of change, whether that be a change in our relationship, a change in our work, a change in our overall dynamic of our life, the change exists inside of us. Right? Like we are the radio receiver. We are the one with our dial tuned to a particular station. The music that's happening in our life is never happening to us. It's happening in response to where our particular dial is set. So where I was, 8 or 10 years ago, feeling like nobody understands me, that was the station that my dial was tuned to. And it was tuned there because I didn't understand me. And I was looking for something outside of me. I wanted the music outside of me to change. And that is just never how anything happens. In this world, changes come from changing how we feel inside of ourselves, changing the dial that our radio is tuned to. So this free 5-day retreat is all about that. It's all about looking inward at how do you feel about you. There's another quote I love that says, "We manifest at the speed of safety." Our body and what we feel to be safe is typically referred to as our comfort zone. And sometimes our comfort zone looks really weird. Like our comfort zone is actually in depression, for example. Like I lived for a solid decade and a half in a chronic depression that was my comfort zone. When I started to get happy, when I started to, move into a life that felt good to me, it was like, I don't know how to be here. This isn't safe. I was worried of losing it. All of the things would start to come up. They call this foreboding joy, that when you start to taste more joy than you're used to, it's not safe because it's unfamiliar. And so your brain is telling you, not known, not safe. And so the very first place that we have to start with change is adjusting our nervous system of what feels safe to us. So these 5 days that I'm going to be with the group and spend these, 5 hours over 5 days, my goal, my thought process is that we will be able to begin changing the dial, changing what station is your radio tuned to, and doing that through working with our nervous system, working with being able to embody a greater sense of acceptance and love for ourselves within ourselves, that then the hologram of life around us can reflect to us naturally, effortlessly. It has no choice but for the music to change when we change the dial inside of ourselves. So if that's something that you would be interested in, even to check it out for one of the days, you can find the link for that in the description. It's totally free to register, and you can invite whoever you want. It's a completely open event happening on Zoom Zoom, Zoom, March 16th through the 20th. I hope to see you there if that's something that sounds like fun for you. Until next time, I do hope that you are taking really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.